Now, I want you to imagine something. Walking through the factory in Windsor, machines are humming. Then suddenly, silent as layoffs ripple through the workforce. Business owners and workers alike scrambled to make sense of tariffs they thought would never arrive. And maybe it was just a bluff. Well, we've quickly learned that it wasn't. We're about to gauge just how deep the fallout goes. We've got roughly 30 days, from shuttered plants to soaring unemployment and creeping inflation. Here's my question, Dmytro, are Canadian businesses being hurt more than American?
Well, it's like comparing apples to oranges. There's no doubt the Canadians are going to suffer more because of the fact that our biggest trading partner is the United States, whereas the United States is a bit more globalized in terms of their trade. So absolutely, I mean, it's going to seriously reel for workers. A lot of workers have already been impacted in Stellantis and GM. It's going to continue. I mean, we're not seeing the full shock of this yet. We're still probably a few months out from that, but it's going to get worse.
That's a very fair, realistic approach, I would say. You're not living in some weird optimism. Ashley, what do you have to say about that real quick?
Yeah, the economy is so intertwined. And so every single one of those parts, that's what's so confusing for a lot of Americans, I think, because they don't understand that, one part in a car has to come here, then go back to the United States or even in Mexico. And that's exactly why we had such a great trading option together, and because our economies work so well. So even for manufacturing and for our auto sectors, Trump definitely wants to take that away from Canada and have that being in the U.S.
Back in the United States.
Absolutely. And so he's going to press down hard until that's happening, it seems like. And it's going to keep doing that ripple effect in those communities, job losses. And so that's going to hurt the local economy as well, because those people don't have the money in order to buy the groceries, go to the local shops.
And what perhaps Trump doesn't understand about how globalized the world is that everything's just going to get more expensive for Americans. And allies, Canada, the European Union, Oceania, are all going to trade amongst each other. I mean, we saw Prime Minister Mark Carney go to the UK and France as his first diplomatic trip because he wants to expand trade alliances elsewhere.
Do you feel it's possible to replace the biggest consumer market in the entire world, though?
No.
No, we can't do that, right?
Because we're in proximity. We're always going to have that aspect because of where we are geographically. But it is true, we have to diversify, and so that's great going to the EU.
And I think, I agree with the idea of diversifying. It is a challenge, and I think this is where, obviously, being the reserve currency of the world also gives you some leverage, and that will never change, at least not in our lifetime. Maybe mine. I'm just kidding. But I also think too, when we look at the fact that for every $3 spent in the global economy, one is American. You can't just replace that. There's only so many countries in the world unless you find a new alien species on Mars. One of my questions, so on the point of auto manufacturing, so we saw, and this is really unique, I think, Trump is reacting real time. He's pulling back on decisions that he's making really, really fast, similar to what you might see in a business, right? We saw him meet with the CEOs of General Motors, Ford, and the chair of Stellantis, and in conversation adjusted the auto tariffs because he realized, these might affect America pretty hard, but he listened to them.
Right.
Are you at all concerned that he's building a really good relationship with them like he has with NVIDIA or Apple to bring investment back into the United States? Because that, to me, I see that as a threat. Should Canada be meeting with these auto manufacturers more than Trump is?
That's what's hurting that trust. We don't have that trust in that relationship with the U.S. because of that. If he's just going on a whim of these phone calls with CEOs, but he's not worried about, the local economy or the world trade, that's on a whim all of a sudden because he wants that notoriety from other businessmen instead of thinking what works in the world trading order.
Do you think, but what works might just be over the course of 3-4 years, they transition. And we've seen that happen. Less than 100 years ago, Texas was part of Mexico, and then it became an independent state, and now it's a part of the United States. We live in the time now where only the last couple decades we've seen this kind of stability. Things can change. And I'm not saying, borders might change, but from a manufacturing side, Dmytro, what do you say?
Well, what perhaps Donald Trump doesn't understand is that there's products that will never be manufactured in the United States again. There's a reason we outsource to countries like India, China, Bangladesh, etc., because their labor is significantly cheaper. And when you hit them with 70% tariffs, as he claims he does, it's going to significantly impact the U.S. economy.
Scott Bessent came out admittedly saying, and we're short on time, but admittedly saying that they don't want to cut ties with China In fact, they want to continue to use China, but they want to bring trade or manufacturing back to the United States that poses as national security risks. Like, as an example, oil, natural gas, but manufacturing-wise, well, cars, chips, ships. Anyways, we'll be right back. We'll continue that discussion. Stay tuned.
I'ma rule the world, yeah.